There is a clay object in Oxford that does something no normal historical document is supposed to do. It begins with cities and kings. It gives names, reign lengths, dynasties, and transfers of power. Then, without warning, it claims that kingship came down from heaven. This is the Sumerian King List, one of the strangest political texts from ancient Mesopotamia. The most complete surviving witness is the Weld-Blundell prism, probably from Larsa in southern Iraq, made around 1800 BC and now held by the Ashmolean Museum. At first glance, it looks administrative. 4 sides of clay, 2 columns of cuneiform on each side, a compact record of rulers from the deepest mythic past down into the early 2nd millennium BC. But the longer you look, the less it behaves like a simple list. The first kings rule for impossible spans of time. Alulim of Eridu is given 28,800 years. Alengar rules 36,000. Other kings rule tens of thousands of years. 5 cities, 8 kings, more than 240,000 years, and then the text says the flood swept over.
After the flood, kingship descends again. The list continues with Kish, Uruk, Awan, Hamazi, Adab, Mari, Agade, Gutium, and Isin. The numbers slowly become less impossible. Myth begins to lean toward history. The document becomes a bridge between gods, memory, and state power. That is why this text matters. It is not just a record of who ruled. It is a claim about who had the right to rule. In the world of the Sumerians, power was not merely seized by men. Power was lowered from the divine realm, placed in one city, then removed and carried to another. The official interpretation is careful. Scholars treat the King List as a literary and ideological composition, not a neutral chronicle. It combines myth, legend, political memory, and historical names. It was probably shaped to make a later dynasty look like the rightful heir of all earlier kingship. But the text creates a harder question. Why would a political document open with rulers who reigned for lengths of time that no human life could contain? Why place impossible kings before the flood, then real dynasties after it, as if they belonged to one chain?
The usual answer is myth. Ancient peoples told stories about the origin of order. The Sumerian King List begins in that mythic language because kingship itself needed a sacred origin. The first rulers are not ordinary historical figures. They are part of a worldview. That answer is reasonable. It is also not enough, because the list does not simply say the gods created kingship. It organizes time. It names cities. It moves power from one city to the next. It turns memory into a map, and that map still points across southern Iraq. Eridu comes first. In later Mesopotamian tradition, Eridu was one of the oldest cities, connected with the god Enki, wisdom, fresh water, and the deep. To begin kingship in Eridu is to begin civilization, at the edge of the marshes, where mud brick, reed, water, and ritual made a city possible. Then kingship is taken to Bad Tabira, then Larik, then Sippar, then Sharupak. These are not random names. They are places in a sacred geography of beginnings. The list is saying that before history became normal, authority moved through a chain of ancient cities.
Then comes the flood. The line is brief, almost cold. The flood swept over. No long description, no dramatic speech, just a break in the order of the world. Then kingship descends again, this time at Kish, and the post-flood world begins. This is where the King List becomes dangerous for easy categories. It does not match modern history, but it is not fantasy in the simple sense either. Some later rulers named in the list are known from other inscriptions. Some dynasties are historically grounded. Some names remain uncertain. One ruler matters especially, Enme-Badagessi of Kish. He is often treated as one of the earliest names in the King List with independent inscriptional support. That does not prove the whole list. It does something more interesting. It shows that the text preserves real political memory inside a mythic frame. So the Sumerian King List is not a fake history, it is a weaponized memory. It takes old city traditions, flood mythology, dynastic succession, and sacred kingship, then arranges them into a single story. There can be one true center of rule at a time.
This idea is easy to miss because modern viewers expect maps with borders. Ancient Mesopotamia did not work that way. Cities were worlds. Uruk, Ur, Kish, Lagash, Nippur, Mari, and Agade could be rivals, allies, sacred centers, military powers, or memories of older greatness. The King List reduces that chaos into a clean line. One city rises. It holds kingship. It falls. Kingship is taken elsewhere. The repeated formula is almost hypnotic. Then that city was defeated, and kingship was taken to another city. That formula does political work. It makes conquest look like cosmic transfer. It turns defeat into divine decision. If your city rules now, the list can imply that you are not merely successful, you are the current holder of an authority that began in heaven. The most complete prism ends with the Isin dynasty. That matters. Isin ruled after the collapse of the Earth Third State, in a period when several cities competed for legitimacy. A list that says kingship has always moved from one city to another is very useful to a city trying to present itself as the next rightful heir.
In that sense, the King List is propaganda, but propaganda is not worthless. It tells us what power wanted people to believe. It tells us what kind of past could make a ruler feel legitimate. And in Sumer, legitimacy needed time so deep it reached before the flood. The numbers are the most famous problem. Tens of thousands of years are not accidental scribal details. They are part of the shock. The Antediluvian kings are not just old rulers. They belong to a different order of existence, a time when kingship was closer to the gods than to ordinary human politics. Some researchers have tried to decode the numbers mathematically. Others see symbolic numerology based on the sexagesimal system, the base 60 mathematics of Mesopotamia. Others treat them as a literary sign that the early age was radically different from the human present. None of these explanations fully closes the problem. The numbers are too precise to ignore and too impossible to accept literally. That is exactly why they survive in the imagination. They look like data from a world that refuses to fit inside modern categories.
The flood intensifies the mystery. Mesopotamian flood traditions appear in several texts, including the Epic of Gilgamesh and earlier Sumerian material. The King List does not explain the flood. It uses it as a divider. Before the flood, impossible reigns. After the flood, a long descent toward historical time. That structure echoes other ancient ways of thinking. Many cultures place a rupture between the world of first beings and the world of ordinary people. The Sumerian version turns that rupture into political chronology. The flood is not just a disaster, it resets kingship. But the list also has omissions and distortions. Powerful cities and rulers can be minimized, ignored, or arranged in ways that do not match the messy reality of overlapping dynasties. The document presents sequence where history often had simultaneity. That is one of the clearest signs that the list is not neutral. It is not trying to preserve every ruler exactly as they ruled. It is trying to build a single royal bloodstream out of many competing city traditions.
And yet, the object itself is humble, clay. Not gold, not marble, not a monumental wall relief. A prism small enough to hold, dense with cuneiform, made by scribes whose work could outlast palaces. The power of Mesopotamia was often stored in clay. A clay tablet could record barley. It could record a legal agreement. It could record a hymn. It could record the rise and fall of kings. In a world where mud became architecture and clay became memory, writing transformed fragile earth into political authority. The King List also reminds us that writing did not begin as abstract philosophy. It grew from administration, accounting, temple economies, and the need to track things. But once writing existed, it could do more than count sheep. It could count time itself. That may be the deepest visual idea in the King List: time made bureaucratic. The impossible past is placed into columns. Myth is standardized. Divine kingship is filed in a format that looks almost administrative.
This is where the document becomes unsettling. A myth spoken aloud can change with each telling. A myth written into clay becomes harder. It looks official. It can be copied. It can be taught. It can be used by rulers who need the past to point toward them. The list also shaped later imagination because it seems to preserve a memory of a lost age. Alternative writers often focus on the enormous wane lengths and read them as evidence for a forgotten civilization, non-human rulers, or deep prehistoric knowledge. Mainstream Assyriology rejects those conclusions. The evidence does not require ancient astronauts or literal immortal kings. But the mainstream answer should not flatten the strangeness either. The text is strange because the people who made it wanted kingship to feel older than ordinary history. So what was the King List really doing? It was compressing many pasts into one: sacred time, city memory, dynastic propaganda, flood mythology, and scribal order were fused into a single document. That fusion is why it still feels alive.
Look at the movement of kingship. Eridu, Kish, Uruk, Agade, Gutium, again, Isin. Each transfer is a statement about memory and legitimacy. The list is not only telling us who ruled, it is telling us how ancient Mesopotamia imagined the right to rule could move through space. This is why maps matter. The story is not locked inside a museum case. It runs along the rivers and old channels of southern Mesopotamia. It passes through city names that were once alive with walls, temples, markets, scribes, canals, and royal claims. The tragedy is that many of those cities now survive as mounds, ruins, fragments, and museum objects. The mud brick world eroded, the rivers shifted, empires rose on top of older memory, but clay tablets carried the names forward. The Weld-Blundell prism is therefore more than an artifact. It is a survival machine. It lets a later viewer stand in front of a small clay object and hear a political imagination nearly 4,000 years old still insisting on its first sentence.
After the kingship descended from heaven, kingship was in Eridu. That line is not just mythic decoration, it is the key to the entire text. Kingship is not invented by a city. It arrives, it rests somewhere, it can leave. A modern historian asks what happened. A Sumerian scribe also asked who had the right to say what happened. The King List answers by making legitimacy older than evidence, older than memory, older than the flood itself. That does not make the list true in the modern sense. It makes it powerful. And sometimes power tells us more than accuracy. The false order imposed on the past reveals the fear beneath it, that kingship might be temporary, fragile, and always waiting to be taken away. The final mystery is not whether Alulim really ruled for 28,800 years. The final mystery is why later kings needed him to. Why did a dynasty in historical time need rulers before the flood to stand behind it, like ancestors?
Perhaps because every state needs a beginning that feels inevitable. Every ruler wants the past to look like a road leading to his throne. The Sumerian King List is one of the earliest surviving attempts to build that road in writing. And that is why the prism still matters. It is not a clean window into the first kings. It is a mirror held up to power, a clay mirror in which kingship appears divine. Cities rise and fall by cosmic logic, and the human hunger for legitimacy becomes older than history. The list begins in heaven. It passes through flood, city, war, and memory. It ends in the politics of its own world. But it leaves one question behind. When a ruler says his power came from the beginning of time, is he preserving the past or conquering it?
The Sumerian King List does not answer that question for us. It only sits there, in clay, with its impossible numbers and its disciplined columns, reminding us that some of the oldest documents in history were already fighting over who owned the past.